If Joe Biden were being honest, are you kidding me? Joe Biden is the one who's at the beach. No, wait a minute. Let me finish the sentence, okay? Joe Biden was at the beach. The storm hit on Thursday night. He's on the beach. He doesn't even think about going. And you know what? Kemp asked for disaster relief for 99 counties. And Donald Trump was right when he said that they're not giving the Republicans the relief. The Biden administration only gave relief for 11. And then when everybody kicked and screamed, Biden said, okay, we'll give 30 counties some disaster relief. So let's just be truthful about this. And I got to tell you, one thing that aggravates the hell out of me, why do Democrats think the way to solve the problem is to throw money in it? Close the damn border. If you don't have enough money for American citizens who are in an emergency, who need food and baby formula and everything else and heat, we can't even find them. And yes, there are places where the National Guard hasn't even hit yet. Well, damn it. That money is my money. It's for Americans in a disaster. It is not for illegals who violated our law to come here in the first place. And by the way, it's $1 billion of FEMA money. Biden in 2022 created a program that allows a transfer of FEMA money. And if $1 billion isn't enough to scare you, our administration has spent $66 billion on illegals. And that's for education, medication, law enforcement, and welfare.
And yeah, that doesn't even include law enforcement.
Well, in the end, what we've got is Americans suffering when we fought the wars, built the streets, and now we're letting illegals we don't even know want to flip the bird to us in the end and give them the money when our kids don't have baby formula. You can be damn sure they got baby formula at the border for illegals. Enough of this nonsense.
She's bringing the heat to the Biden-Harris administration, and by most accounts, what she's saying is right. The left is now exposed through natural calamities, and this is not even the worst news that I found. How would you feel if the Vice President of the United States ordered to have supplies loaded on a plane for a simple photo op, and then deciding not to have these supplies sent to Americans that need it the most? Would you consider that distasteful? Because reports are now coming out that Kamala Harris just did this to the victims of Hurricane Helene. And guys, before we get started, I just want to say thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Thanks for hitting the like button and subscribing. Let's jump in.
And then also from that video, I started getting a lot of messages like to my Instagram from like actual like aircraft commanders, like squadron commanders.
No kidding.
I had a squadron commander from North Carolina reach out to me. They had to load a C-17 full of supplies just to take a photo op for Kamala. And they never sent the bird.
Wait a minute, what?
They loaded an entire C-17 full of supplies for the hurricane victims just for Kamala to go there, take a photo, take a video, and they never sent the C-17. It was just a full.
Serious?
Yeah, that was a National Guard, North Carolina National Guard unit. That was a 06 that reached out to me. And then I had another.
He reached out to you to tell you that they did a photo op and with the intention of never sending.
Never sending. It was just a photo op.
Now, how do you feel about that? Now, this comes from a podcast hosted by Sean Ryan. Now, Ryan's a former U.S. Navy SEAL who had veterans who assisted with the response to Hurricane Helene in North Carolina. Harris's team was quick to get on top of this, as it looks like they told the North Carolina National Guard to patch this thing up. According to them, the C-17 that they're talking about was supposed to make an aid trip, but that trip was canceled at the last minute. It wasn't because they staged a photo op with no intent of sending aid to Americans, but that they experienced a mechanical issue which rendered the plane useless, is what we're told. They swear that the supplies in the photos and videos were loaded onto another plane which flew the very next day, bringing all of these much needed supplies to victims of the hurricane. Y'all believe that? Unbelievable. Now, if it were up to Kamala Harris, aid would only be provided based on race.
It is our lowest income communities and our communities of color that are most impacted by these extreme conditions and impacted by issues that are not of their own making. And so absolutely. And so we have to address this in a way that is about giving resources based on equity, understanding that we fight for equality, but we also need to fight for equity, understanding not everyone starts out at the same place. And if we want people to be in an equal place, sometimes we have to take into account those disparities.
Now, I guess somebody has to ask her if these communities are listed below Ukraine and illegal immigrants, because we know that they've already spent billions of dollars on both. And this is why there's disappointment when it comes to these calamities right here at home, because United States citizens are being treated worse than those who weren't even born here. This isn't what her campaign needs at this moment. And as we've noticed, she's been all over the place just trying to catch up to Trump. As she said, and I can quote her, they are the underdogs, which may explain why they needed to take a fake photo just to make her look good. Because the consensus is that she just doesn't care about us, and that she would rather have a country filled with illegal immigrants who are sure to vote her into office. Her problem now is that the voters who actually live in this country are starting to wake up. Now, guys, I want you guys to take a look at this black woman who's sitting behind the person that Kamala Harris is talking to in this clip here. Now, I want you to look at her mouth and see for yourself how fed up the people are with Kamala Harris's same old speeches. She's the one who has her eyes shut at the beginning here.
Part of my plan is for startup small businesses. The tax deduction right now is $5,000 to extend it to $50,000. Knowing what that will mean to tap into the ambition and the aspirations that people have, knowing that unlike my opponent, who got handed $400 million on a silver tray and filed for bankruptcy 6 times, most people don't have that access to the wealth that is necessary for them to start a small business.
She fought so hard not to say what Kamala Harris was going to say. She rolled her eyes before she said the exact same thing as the VP. Now, this can be due to her listening to the same old script multiple times. Either that or the teleprompter guy is getting fired, one of the two. Now, as far as we know, the vice president's pulling out all the stops to try and close the gap between her and Donald Trump. But botches like this only makes it that much more obvious that she's out of her league here. Now, I'll also cut the first part out where she says the exact same thing about her opportunity economy. So if you've listened to her talk about it once, then you've listened to all of them. Basically, she just keeps saying the same stuff over and over and over. She's almost like an AI bot. Actually, that's almost disrespectful to the AI bots, because AI is a lot smarter than Kamala Harris. I remember reading about this huge wealth transfer that was happening, but I never imagined how real it would be until I started seeing people I knew actually getting ahead. Meanwhile, I was feeling left behind. And it wasn't luck. They were positioned with the right people and resources at the right time. The Life Pursuit Network gives you the exact same advantage. For less than $1 a day, you can learn the strategies that others are using to seize this massive opportunity. Don't stand on the sidelines while others succeed without you. Join us right now and be a part of this great wealth transfer that's already changing lives.
I know it's a late night show. I don't know if this is sexist. I'm trying to figure out whether I'd be saying this if it were a male. I think I would. But there's also the image of the first potential female president trying to maintain your image, or in her case, build it, of a serious person who is, yes, you can laugh here or there, you can have a good time, but not to come across as a giggling, cackling schoolgirl.
Now, we're getting closer and closer to the presidential election. There are a few issues that may change the course of our nation for good. There's the economy, there's immigration, there's democracy, there's abortion, and of course, conflicts overseas. Now, in terms of the economy and immigration, Donald Trump is easily winning in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Now, in terms of democracy and abortion, Kamala Harris holds the lead, thanks in part to how they've smeared Donald Trump with January 6th. Now, when it comes to conflict in the Middle East, Donald Trump again takes a commanding lead in all 3 states. He also has a comfortable lead when it comes to the question of being the commander-in-chief of our military. All of this is great news for the Trump campaign. It's also a reason as to why Kamala Harris is being pressured to show up to these friendly shows. But her and Trump are not cut from the same cloth. She's not holding up to the pressure, and it's only a matter of time until she eventually breaks.
What are we seeing?
Here we are. Right now, we are seeing an 80% probability of Trump winning the Electoral College. And take a look at what we're seeing here. North Carolina, we do not see any path barring a major shift in the polling at this hour for Kamala Harris. And Georgia remains tight, but the outlying areas solid red, and we're seeing an uptick in the percentages into the low 60s for the outlying counties, which are balancing very blue Atlanta and Fulton County. But we see that. Pennsylvania, we are seeing it approaching a 4-point spread in VT Analytics. Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia. If those go as we are currently projecting, the night would be over for Kamala Harris, and here's why. These three without Arizona is 270. That's the ball game. Even if she was to win Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, and Nevada at that point, with the rest that are projected very solidly in blue and red through the West, the Electoral College math will simply be at least 270 for Donald Trump. So, and with the election little under 5 weeks from today, that's what we see.
This is uncharted territory for Donald Trump. He's never held the lead so comfortably at this point of a presidential election, which makes sense as to what Vice President Kamala Harris has been doing as of late. Even with calamities hitting the nation, she is clearly on a mission to reach out to more voters, especially those who may still be undecided at this point. This is the price that they pay for keeping her hidden from the public for way too long. They thought that the mainstream liberal media propaganda was enough to kind of get her across the finish line. However, we see that voters are now focusing on what really matters. Who is the leader that can get us out of these multiple issues? I don't think that many people believe that the person for the job is President Joe Biden, especially when you take into consideration his catastrophic approval rating. So now Harris has to try to distance herself from him. But here's what she had to say when she was asked about their differences. And guys, before we get started, I just want to say thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for hitting the like button and subscribing. Let's jump in.
Polling shows that a lot of people, especially independent voters, really want this to be a change election, and that they tend to break for you in terms of thinking about change. You are a member of the President administration. Under a Harris administration, what would the major changes be, and what would stay the same?
Sure. Well, I mean, I'm obviously not Joe Biden.
I noticed.
And so that would be one change in terms of...
Yes.
But also, I think it's important to say with 28 days to go, I'm not Donald Trump. And so when we think about the significance of what this next generation of leadership looks like, were I to be elected president, it is about, frankly, I love the American people, and I believe in our country. I love that it is our character and nature to be an ambitious people. We have aspirations, we have dreams, we have incredible work ethic, and I just believe that we can create and build upon the success we've achieved in a way that we continue to grow opportunity, and in that way grow the strength of our nation.
It's kind of like she's reading off of a Hallmark card, right? I was worried there for a second that she was going to talk about the significance of the passage of time and how insulting it is to our intelligence that her only difference to Joe Biden is that they don't have the same name, that they're not the same person. And what does it matter if she's not Trump? Biden and Donald Trump are obviously two different people. We don't need her to point that out for us, with policies that are extremely opposite of each other. It's also worth noting that Kamala Harris did do a lot of her cackling in this episode. But here is Megyn Kelly breaking it down for us.
The return of the cackle.
Text stop to quit. I'm sorry. Because I can't just be giving a drink to the vice president of my life. There you go.
Oh my God.
Right now, leaning towards Trump, but I haven't made a decision. I'm also concerned about the way I feel President Biden was pushed aside.
Oh.
And so close to the elections, I believe these are extraordinary circumstances. How can you clarify this whole process and how you were elected?
Sure. And first of all, thank you for being so candid and allowing me to answer the question. Thank you. President Biden made a decision that I think history will show was probably one of the most courageous that a president could make, which is he decided to put country above his personal interest. And he made that decision. He within that same period of time, supported my candidacy and urged me to run. He and I have been partners for the last 4 years as his vice president, to him as the president. And I am honored to have earned the Democratic nomination. I am honored to have the endorsement of people from every walk of life, you will probably find that I probably have a bigger coalition of people who couldn't seem to be more different than each other, who have come together around my candidacy. From 200 Republicans who worked with and for both Presidents Bush, John McCain, Mitt Romney, including Liz Cheney, the former Congresswoman, and her father, the former Vice President, Dick Cheney, who was supporting me. Former members, very esteemed members, including generals of the national security community. I have the endorsement and support of Alberto Gonzalez, most recently, who of course was Attorney General. I have the support of people from every background, and I believe this is the reason why. It is incredibly important, and I know you and I can see you are a patriot, that we have the President of the United States who honors the oath that they take to support the Constitution of the United States. There is a huge contrast in this election. Donald Trump has said he will be a dictator on day one.
I felt right there, just before she said Donald Trump, leading up to this, I was like, she's setting up for the attack on Donald Trump. But watch this.
Many people come from backgrounds and countries of origin, and we know what that means when you're talking about someone who wants to be president of the United States and wants to be a dictator, and what that means in terms of taking freedoms from their people. Donald Trump has said he would weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies. I urge you to look at Project 2025, and you will see he will strip the Department of Justice of its independence and put in and hire across the board, instead of career public servants, his people.
And well, at this point, the Democratic Party is just so desperate that they've even had to call on Barack Obama to campaign for Vice President Kamala Harris. Guys, I covered this in a previous live stream that I urge you to watch. And it is shocking to hear testing. Are you guys able to hear me now? Can you guys hear me now? Testing. No sound. I think I lost my hearing. Oh my goodness. You guys able to hear me now? If you guys are able to hear me now, just say, I don't know, early voting. If you guys are able to hear me now, say early voting. I just want to make sure, because I see a lot of yeses in here, but I don't know if you're what you're saying yes to. All right, cool. Yeah, so Kamala Harris, she basically wants to make Donald Trump feel like, or Donald Trump look like, you know, he should be ashamed of himself for having parents that left him in a good financial standing. How many of you guys, comment down below, how many of you guys would love to have parents that have left you in a good financial standing, maybe leaving you an inheritance, maybe leaving you a hefty $100,000, maybe even $1 million, couple $1 million life insurance fund? Like, who wouldn't appreciate that, right? Like, and then here's another thing. How many of you guys right now today would love to leave your children a $100,000, maybe a couple $1 million life insurance policy for your kids? Comment down below, life insurance for my kids. if that sounds like something that you think would be awesome, because apparently Kamala Harris hates the idea of Donald Trump's parents looking out for him. Like, why in the world should any parent be afraid or ashamed of looking out for their children? And if this is the case, I feel like this actually speaks volumes for Kamala Harris as a person. Apparently, you're not supposed to take care of your kids. And the simple fact that Donald Trump has taken this, however much money he has gotten, and grown it into an even greater net worth for himself, this speaks volumes to the fact that Donald Trump understands business. He understands how to multiply his money. He understands the impact that the economy has on business owners. And of course, the fact that business owners are where people get jobs from. If there's no businesses, employees have nowhere to work. So I don't want to say it's a trickle down effect, but it kind of is in this regard. An employee works for a company. If the company goes out of business, where's the employee going to work? So anyway, and Jeannie has literally gone off. They were trying to interrupt her at first. Thank you guys for typing in early voting. So I know you guys are able to hear me. I appreciate you guys. And I'm gonna get to your comments in just a second. But is anybody as pissed off about this as I am? I mean, it's almost like this is like a political game that Kamala Harris is leveraging right now. The Biden administration as well. And it's like, wow, did y'all really try to not help the Republican counties or the Republican cities that got impacted, only send money over to the Democratic cities? Like, is that really what happened? And another thing is, like, how much money from FEMA was reallocated to illegal immigrants, right? That should upset you, because this is what I don't understand. And I feel like a lot of people who support Kamala Harris don't understand taxes. And so this money that the government has to send in the form of welfare, food stamps, Social Security, all of this is taxpayer money. And I feel like people hear the word taxpayer money and they don't really take it to heart. Taxpayer money means my money. It means your money. Whenever you look at, and I don't know how many people even look at their paychecks anymore, because a lot of people don't even get paper paychecks anymore. Look at your paycheck stubs, okay? Download it from Workplace or whatever you happen at Workday, whatever tool your company uses at the HR, at the Human Resources Department. Find out how you can download your pay stub, right? And what I want you to do when you look at your pay stub, I want you to ask yourself, look at how much your gross number is. Now, that's the number, like if you get paid a salary, let's say you make $100,000 a year, right? If you make $100,000 a year, that's around $8,300 a month, right? If you get paid every 2 weeks, $8,300 divided by 2, that's around 4166, I think, something like that. Anyway, if you're not getting the whole $100,000 paycheck every year, that means something's coming out. Now, obviously, there's medical expenses, or there's health insurance if you have it, dental insurance. Maybe there's some supplemental life insurance in there, but a big chunk of that money coming out of your paycheck is your taxes, right? I want you guys to look, and unless you live in states like Florida or Nevada, where there's no state income taxes, you're going to see a lot of money coming out your check, okay? Now, one of the biggest chunks coming out your check is Social Security and the federal taxes. Now, how many of you guys receive Social Security, and how many of you guys are looking forward to receiving Social Security that you have been paying into for the last God knows how long, right? How would you feel to know that your taxpayer money, your tax dollars, your Social Security contributions are going to someone who doesn't even belong in this country. Because the way, and we keep hearing this, how illegal immigrants are going to be coming into the country and stealing our Social Security. I mean, Social Security already has a very short window of survival to be able to continue to keep paying out. And the window is going to be even shorter if we suddenly have a significant influx of people being paid out of that Social Security fund. Okay. Now, I've heard from a lot of people saying, oh, they're trying to wipe us out. They're trying to eliminate the population. But what they're doing is very contrast to that. It's very contrary to that. They're letting in so many people into our country, into the United States. And Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, they've been doing this from day one. You got to ask yourself, why are they doing this? I see a lot of you guys getting SSI, getting Social Security. Somebody said you're gone again. Are you guys able to hear me? I'm seeing a lot of comments, so I think you guys are able to hear me. I don't even know. Oh, dang it! Somebody's saying mic is off. Anyway, I'm going to keep talking, and I'm going to hope that you guys can still hear me. So here's the thing: they're letting in all these new people, all these, as they call them, newcomers, right? Who's paying for this? Who is paying for this? We've seen inflation rise to a level that we've not seen in a very long time. Appreciate the love, Freedom. Freedom says, Ron, I've been saying this since she got it. I've been saying this I'm sorry, Ron, I've been saying this since the get-go. She is a disgrace. Worst VP in my lifetime. Anybody voting for her need to have their head examined. She will help no one but her pockets. I don't want to get too distracted, but you make a very good point here, Freedom. The thing is a lot of people, and the Democratic Party is really good about this, right? They try to convince us that the Democratic Party is for the people, that the Democratic Party is for the middle class, for the poor people. Maybe at one point that was the case, but you got to ask yourself, who all supporting the Democratic Party right now? Look at Oprah. Anybody heard of Oprah Winfrey? She used to do talk show host. She was, a black woman who came from nothing. Who's supporting Kamala Harris? I saw Oprah all over the DNC. She's a billionaire. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with being a wealthy individual. I'm just saying, look at Oprah supporting Kamala Harris. Let me see if I can do a quick Google search. How many, let's see, companies, let's see, Democratic, I'm going to see if I can pull this up. Democratic Silicon Valley companies. Liberal tech entrepreneurs and Democrats in Silicon Valley. Check this out, guys. Silicon Valley. I found this article from the New Yorker. It says Silicon Valley, the new lobbying monster. From crypto to AI, the tech sector is pouring millions into super PACs. Okay, super PACs is basically money from corporations going into presidential campaigns of politicians. All right, so I'm just going to read this. From crypto to AI, the tech sector is pouring millions of dollars into super PACs that intimidate politicians into supporting its agenda. That in and of itself should scare you guys. I'm going to read the first paragraph only. One morning in February, Katie Porter was sitting in bed, futzing around on her computer when she learned that she was the target of a vast techno-political conspiracy. For the past 5 years, Porter had served in the House of Representatives on behalf of Orange County, California. She'd become famous, at least C-SPAN and MSNBC famous, for her eviscerations of business tycoons, often aided by a whiteboard that she used to make a camera-friendly presentation about corporate greed. Now, she was in a highly competitive race to replace the California Senator Dianne Feinstein. Y'all remember Dianne Feinstein, who had died just a few months earlier? The primary was in 3 weeks. What I want to share with you guys is this. Remember the DNC, huge, massive event that had basically protesters out in the streets while they were doing the DNC in California. In fact, you remember New York City Mayor Eric Adams? New York City Mayor Eric Adams, he was pissed off that the DNC wasn't held in New York City, the Big Apple. So the thing is when you looked at the DNC, that whole upper row, that whole not upper row, the upper section, there were $500,000 seats up there. Okay. Now, when the Democratic Party tries to convince us that the Democratic Party is for the middle class, you can't tell me it's not for the rich. You can't tell me it's not for the ultra wealthy, because you tell me who in the middle class is buying a $500,000 seat up in the DNC for that 1 week event. Somebody please talk to me in the comments, guys. We got 916 people in here. If y'all haven't already, hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. If you think you're subscribed, make sure you still subscribe. Maybe you're not. But ask yourself, who's able to afford $500,000 seats? I can't afford no $500,000 seat to hang out up in the freaking DNC for a week. So that sounds like some serious money up in there. So you got to ask yourself, why would someone who has the ability to spend $500,000 for a 1 week event? I don't even know if it was it a whole 7 days or was it 5 days, guys? What's up, Jarita? Yeah, we could just take it off the petty cash tree. I know, exactly. BS. Shout out to Jarita. But that's, you know, some of these corporations, they got big petty cash banks, right? Okay, Truth Central said that the DNC was 5 days. Thank you so much. Oh wow. Sherry Sharon says Oprah, Hawaii. Enough said. Y'all remember that Lahaina bit, right? Where all those people over there in Lahaina, Hawaii, got all those homes mysteriously burned up. A lot of blue homes didn't get touched for some reason. Why would the blue homes or homes that had blue on them not get touched somehow? How does that work? Is it because the Democratic Party is blue? Oh, no. I don't know. I'm just asking a question. Don't kill me, right? Remember how Oprah and the Rock came together to try to raise money, and a lot of people attacked them. Basically, they were pissed off. It's like, yo, you guys are already wealthy. Why are you asking us for money, right? How much was your contribution? Anyway, but let me go back to the DNC, okay? Let me go back to the DNC, because the DNC, they were selling out these $500,000 tickets. So think about it. If you can afford $500,000 for a week event, that's like $100,000 a day. That's $100,000 a day, because somebody already had pointed out it was a 5-day event. So you spent $100,000 a day to hang out in this suite, right? And if you can afford to do that, you're not middle class. You're not middle class. You are wealthy to be able to afford that. Okay. I wouldn't even feel comfortable buying a $1,000 seat to sit on the front row on the floor of like an NBA game in the finals. I'm just saying. And these guys were up in the nosebleed seats in the suites. Okay. So I'm just saying. Now, I want you guys to think about this for a second. When and they were filled, they weren't empty. Like a lot of Kamala Harris's rallies are empty, or you got busted voters. The whole upper row of the DNC was filled, guys. So ask yourself this: how were there so many people able to afford that? And this is kind of like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris when they did their fundraising event in New York, and they had those $50,000 plates. Everybody knows you ain't getting $50,000 worth of food, and the food's not $50,000 worth of tasty, right? So you got to look at it like this. Look, this is a donation. This is a campaign. This is a fundraiser, right? So when you go to these events and you spend $50 per plate, and if you bring a guest, that's $100,000 for a meal, you're not middle class. So you're telling me all these ultra wealthy people who are buying these $100,000 per day seats, $100,000 dinners at Joe Biden's with Joe Biden, and Kamala Harris and Tim Walz tell us that they're going to be they're going to make the wealthy pay their fair share. Do you really think the wealthy is going to pay their fair share when the wealthy is dropping these massive campaign donations? Why would the wealthy spend so much money on these apparently campaign donations in the form of DNC seats, suites, and $100,000 dinners if they know that the very party that they're putting all this money behind is going to screw them in the end? That wouldn't make any sense. So I guess what I'm saying to you guys is I think it's very apparent that we're being lied to. I mean, what do y'all think about, this hurricane that just passed? We had, talking about Hurricane Milton. I'm talking about Hurricane Helene. Was this a natural hurricane, or was this caused by climate change? Was this caused by global warming? Was this another reason? Was this caused by HARP? I'm just wondering, was this a ploy from the Democratic Party to further support their Green New scam? I'm sorry, their Green New Deal? I mean, these are questions that I'm getting from a lot of you guys. Weather manipulation is what RB said. Government trials, Pat Walsh, appreciate your feedback, bro. P. Diddy involved as well with Oprah and The Rock. YouTube is censoring people and deleting remarks of Republicans. I hope not. I certainly hope not. I think there's probably a pretty fair amount of Republicans or conservatives in this room here. Hey guys, comment down below if you're conservative, if you're Democrat, if you're independent. Let me know where you guys stand in the comments. Because Russell Diaz, you guys can see what Russell Diaz is saying in the comments. I got it highlighted for you guys. Appreciate it, Cherie. Let me see. Patricia said weather warfare. We got Backtrack saying Trump 2024. Let's see. Jacob Bartlett says he's Republican. Lisa B says Republican for freedom. Unique Rabbit, independent. Tree 3 Climber says independent. Oh wow, we got a lot of independents in here. That's what's up. I have a lot of conservative values, but I'm not Republican. I am definitely an independent because I have voted for Democratic and Republican candidates in my voting history. So I'm definitely an independent. But I care about the direction of our country. Sandra Franklin, Republican. Diddy had his fingers into everything. Teresa Letcher's independent. All right, so we have a good variety of people in here. I love it. Appreciate you, Jacob. Trump all the way. Trump 2024 from Michelle Schaefer. So yeah. What's up, Katalia? What's going on, girly? So I mean, I'm just saying, sometimes you just have to look at what's hiding in plain sight, as they say. Middle class ain't paying for those seats. That's all I'm saying. And when you look at some of the largest Democratic donors, you will find that a crap ton of them are they're I don't want to just say millionaire, because millionaire doesn't really mean that much anymore. I'm talking about ultra wealthy people. I'm talking about like $100 million and up type of folks that are supporting this party, and it's a lot of them. In fact, I was actually watching Patrick Bet-David, and I want to say, and I'm gonna see if I can find this clip, because he made a very good point. And I don't remember if it was Pat or if it was one of the guys on his show. Anybody watch Patrick Bet-David PBD podcast? Amazing show if you guys haven't already checked him out. That man's dope. I was following him. I was following him when all he had was Valuetainment, and he started that channel like probably 10 years ago. Anyway, I was one of his early followers, subscribers, before he even had 50,000 subscribers. Anyway, PBD is dope. And I remember on that show, somebody had brought up the fact that 80%, it was like north of 80% of the Democratic Party. Let me see if I can remember the statistic. 80% of, that's right, 80% of the wealthiest individuals supported the Democratic Party. And this is the same party that has Corinne Jean-Pierre gaslighting us every other day, trying to convince us of something that they want us to believe, which is contrary to what the truth is. So you got to ask yourself, if all these super wealthy people, and I'm not saying that there's anything inherently wrong with having money. Money is a very neutral object. It could be used for good. It could be used for bad. Greed is horrible, but if you happen to have a lot of money, you're not inherently bad. There are great people with a lot of money. There's also horrible people with a lot of money. But my point is this: if 80% of the wealthiest people are supporting the Democratic Party, you got to really ask yourself, why is that? That's all I'm saying. Anyway, if you guys haven't already, please take a second, hit the like button for the video. Really appreciate you guys. Thank you for subscribing to the channel and sharing this video. And I look forward to hanging out with you guys on the next one. Y'all take care.